Hello, and welcome back to Hope is Kindled, where we seek out truth, meaning, and that stubborn ember of hope tucked away in even the most chaotic pages of literature. Today, we parachute straight into absurdity, and if that sentence sounds like a contradiction, well, that's Catch-22 for you. This episode is devoted to Joseph Heller's legendary novel, Catch-22, a work as riotous as it is tragic, as surreal as it is cuttingly real. It's the book that taught us that circular logic, military bureaucracy, and institutional insanity don't just exist, they often run the show. Born in Brooklyn in 1923, Joseph Heller was the son of poor Russian Jewish immigrants. At 19, he enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Corps and flew 60 combat missions as a bombardier in World War II, an experience that would become the twisted backbone of Catch-22. After the war, he studied at NYU and Columbia, then Oxford as a Fulbright scholar. He worked in advertising by day and wrote fiction by night. When Catch-22 was published in 1961, it wasn't an immediate success, but as the Vietnam War intensified, Heller's work began to look prophetic. It became a countercultural lightning rod and a defining satire of war. Heller once said,
"The enemy is anybody who's going to get you killed, no matter which side he's on."
And that might be the clearest definition of Catch-22 you'll ever get. This novel may have been set during World War II, but it was published in the shadow of the Cold War and rising Vietnam conflict. Catch-22 captures the growing realization that war doesn't just kill the body, it disfigures logic, morality, and identity. Psychologically, this is a novel about cognitive dissonance, paranoia, and the breakdown of reason. The titular Catch-22 is a rule with no exit. You can be grounded for being insane, but asking to be grounded proves you're sane, so you must fly more missions. The more you try to survive, the more you're condemned. It's a world where survival is madness, and dying on command is called duty. And in this, we find echoes of Kafka's Metamorphosis, the cold machinery of 1984, and even Chief Bromden's metaphor of the Combine from Cuckoo's Nest. Heller's bureaucratic maze is different only in that it's louder, funnier, and somehow more terrifying. Let's take a moment to breathe in Heller's wit, dry, dark, and devastating. Joseph Heller's Catch-22 is a masterpiece of satirical absurdity, a novel that captures the chaos, contradiction, and comedy of war and bureaucracy through razor-sharp wit. The genius of Heller's prose lies in how he bends logic until it breaks, only to reveal the painful truth lying beneath the humor.
He wondered often how he had ever gotten into this ridiculous mess. Of course, he knew perfectly well how he had gotten into it. He had volunteered.
This line is classic Heller, anchored in irony, shaped by contradiction. Yossarian's bewilderment isn't just about the external war, it's about the internal war of choice. He chose this. He signed up. But that choice, seemingly noble or necessary at the time, has now spiraled into something absurd and inescapable. The humor stings because we've all been there, trapped by our own decisions, wondering how we got stuck, when we were the ones who raised our hands. This bleeds seamlessly into the novel's deeper existential indictment, which bears repeating.
The enemy is anybody who's going to get you killed, no matter which side he's on.
Here, Heller demolishes the moral clarity of war. There is no black and white, us versus them simplicity. Bureaucracy, incompetence, and even one's own commanders become greater threats than the actual enemy. The line skewers nationalism and loyalty, exposing how survival often trumps ideology. In this twisted logic, the absurd becomes the real. Those who claim to protect may end up doing the most harm. Which brings us, inevitably, to the titular paradox.
There was only one catch, and that was Catch-22.
This is Heller's masterstroke, turning circular logic into a philosophical weapon. Catch-22, the rule that says you're insane if you willingly fly dangerous combat missions, but if you ask to be removed from duty, you're sane and therefore ineligible to be relieved, is the ultimate no-win scenario. It encapsulates the entire structure of the novel and the system it critiques. A world where rules are designed not to protect, but to entrap. And the worst part? Everyone agrees it's crazy, and yet no one can escape it. It's the illusion of order masking the reality of chaos. And when logic fails, what's left?
Insanity is contagious.
Yes, it is, especially in a world that calls cruelty rational and demands obedience to nonsense. It's the final descent. Sanity, in a world this mad, is a liability. Those who try to remain rational, like Yossarian, appear delusional precisely because they see the truth. Meanwhile, the truly insane blend seamlessly into the system. Heller's wit is terrifying here. The more you understand, the madder you seem. And the more deeply you accept the absurdity, the saner you appear. It's not just war that's crazy, it's the whole structure of meaning built around it. Together, these quotes show Heller's brilliance. His comedy is surgical. His satire is laced with despair. And yet by exposing the madness, he gives us a way to name it, to resist it, to laugh perhaps, and in that laughter, find a flicker of clarity, even hope. There is no shame if you have to ask, what exactly is a Catch-22? There's something almost mythic about the phrase Catch-22. We use it all the time now to describe frustrating loops, unjust systems, and no-win situations. But this wasn't always the case. Joseph Heller invented the phrase, and it caught on because it named something we all instinctively recognized but could never quite define. At its core, a Catch-22 is a paradoxical rule designed to trap you. You can't fulfill the requirement without breaking the rule, and you can't break the rule without being punished for not fulfilling the prass. Requirement. Its logic weaponized.
Catch-22 said that a concern for one's own safety in the face of dangers that were real and immediate was the process of a rational mind. If he flew them, he was crazy and didn't have to. But if he didn't want to, he was sane and had to.
It's the kernel that makes you fly more missions, because asking to stop means you're sane enough to keep going. It's the military tribunal that punishes Clevenger because he's accused, and thus must be guilty. In one of the most surreal and, strangely hilarious, moments in the novel, Heller captures the total breakdown of meaning.
Clevenger was guilty, of course, or he would not have been accused. And since the only way to prove it was to find him guilty, it was their patriotic duty to do so.
This is war not as tragedy, but as farce. And yet, beneath the laughter, we feel the weight. We see what power does to reason, what uniformed authority does to the soul, and we see hatred, deep, arbitrary, terrifying hatred.
These three men who hated him spoke his language and wore his uniform, but he understood instantly that nowhere in the world were there men who hated him more.
Heller reminds us that the true enemy may not be across the battlefield. It may be sitting in the next tent, filling out forms. If Catch-22 teaches us anything, it is that insanity isn't a failure of the system, it is the system. And in this world, insanity spreads like wildfire through orders, parades, punishments, and patriotic slogans. Catch-22 isn't limited to war. It's institutional absurdity at its most refined. It's what Kafka warned us about. It's what Orwell taught us to fear. And Heller, laughing through the madness, taught us how to recognize it and survive it. Psychologically, Catch-22 embodies what Camus called the absurd condition, the conflict between our desire for order and meaning and a world that provides neither. The rules shift. The goalposts move. All that remains is survival. The system doesn't just trap you, it insists you admire the trap. But naming the absurd is the first step to reclaiming our humanity from it. Among all the whirlwind scenes, one moment floats to the top calm, reflective, piercing. Yossarian, a reluctant, terrified bombardier, meets an old Italian man who calmly reflects on the empires that have come and gone.
You're a very naive young man. Italy is a very poor and weak country, and that's what makes us so strong. Strong countries are always trying to conquer us, and that's what makes us so weak. But eventually the conquerors always go away, and that's what makes us so strong.
It's a beautiful paradox, a whisper of wisdom in the middle of madness. The old man has seen it all: Napoleon, Mussolini, the Nazis, the Americans. And, through it all, he has simply survived, outlived them all. It's a line that could have come from Gandhi. A meditation on endurance, on outlasting history, on living to tell the tale. And then there is Yossarian's blistering diatribe against God, one of the most emotionally raw and philosophically potent scenes in the novel. In a moment of clarity and grief, Yossarian rejects the theological cliches meant to console suffering. He does not hold back.
There's nothing so mysterious about it. He's not working at all. He's playing. Or else he's forgotten all about us. What in the world was running through that warped, evil, scatological mind of his when he robbed old people of the power to control their bowel movements? Why in the world did he ever create pain?
Lieutenant Shaiskop's wife responds with the logic of utility.
Pain is a useful symptom. Pain is a warning.
But Yossarian, in a rare moment of terrible beauty, demands something better from divinity.
Why couldn't he have used a doorbell instead? Or one of his celestial choirs? Or a system of blue android neon tubes right in the middle of each person's forehead?
This scene could feel blasphemous. But in truth, it is a prayer. A furious, vulnerable, heartbroken cry for justice. It recalls Ivan Karamazov's rebellion in The Brothers Karamazov. It is the pain of a soldier who has seen too much, who cannot reconcile what he's seen with the idea of a benevolent universe. And yet, through this raw and honest monologue, we see a deeper kind of faith, faith in the possibility that things should be better. That pain is not right, that we should be angry when cruelty becomes the norm. In the end, Catch-22 does not offer resolution. It offers defiance. Yossarian doesn't find peace. He finds the courage to walk away, to stop killing and being killed. It is not framed as heroic, but it is unmistakably human. And maybe, in that, there is hope. Hope that we can resist systems that crush the soul. Hope that we can say no when the world insists on yes. Hope that, like all our literary companions, when the world goes mad, we can still choose kindness, clarity, and life. You're damned if you do, and damned if you don't. It's the kernel that makes you fly more missions, because asking to stop means you're sane enough to keep going. The novel's characters constantly try to make sense of things, but reason fails them. The rules shift. The goalposts move. And all that remains is survival. The system doesn't just trap you, it insists that you admire the trap, that you believe in it, that you salute it. But Heller offers us something rare. The ability to laugh at the madness, and by doing so, resist it. Naming the absurd is the first step to reclaiming our humanity from it. That's what makes Catch-22 more than a phrase. It's a diagnosis, and, if we're brave enough, the beginning of a cure. Catch-22 ends not with a solution, but with a decision. Yossarian chooses to walk away, not as a deserter, but as a man reclaiming his humanity. He's had enough of madness, disguised as order, of lies dressed in medals, of death written in triplicate. This book doesn't offer hope in the conventional sense. It offers a clear-eyed, unflinching look at the cost of staying sane in a system built on insanity. But in its pages, in its protests, in its defiance, we find a different kind of hope, one that refuses to go quietly, and we carry that hope with us. Next time, we leave fiction and enter lived memory. Frederick Down's The Killing Zone is a harrowing memoir of Vietnam. It's brutal, honest, a soldier's diary that doesn't glorify war, it tells the truth. We bring with us the righteous fury of Yossarian, the quiet courage of Gandhi, the poetry of Dylan, and the laughter of the Muppets, because even in war, we must remember how to be human. Good journey.